Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you. We're going to be talking about from Sumerian Comics, The Firstborns, issue number 2. It is written and created by E E Plissken, art by Luca Vassallo, letters by Ryan Ferrier and Luciana Dooley. Before we get started on the review, please like, comment, subscribe. That does help this guy's channel. The comments are big time. So here we are, The Firstborns, issue number 2. Before we get started, I'd like to show a size comparison because this is a regular bag and board and this is the book. It is a little bit smaller than a regular comic. It's the same width, just not the same height. It's about an inch smaller. But I mean, it still reads the same, but just to let you know, it is the same price as a comic. But honestly, the colors, the art is fantastic in this book, and I think this is actually a variant cover of the second issue. So we're starting out. The first book was really weird, I want to say, and the takeaway from the first book was a little boy got pushed off a cliff named David by 3 bullies. And at the end of it, we kind of saw some alien vision. I don't know. So we start off exactly on the next day. Another key point is I think this takes place in the 90s. There's Sonic Youth t-shirts. They talk about playing Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo. But we are catching up with another boy, and I think he was featured at the end of the first book, but more like in a dream. But this is Stan. He's at school. They're having a regular day. Eventually, he gets called upon by the teacher, and he's not really paying attention. He's actually thinking about David, asking where he is because his seat is empty. The bully ends up picking up on Stan, and Stan makes a comment. The bully kind of, you don't make a bully look like a fool, so of course the bully's gonna, he's after him and stuff. He tries to catch up with him after class, and Stan's not dumb. He takes off, finds his 2 other friends, and they kind of try to bail. The bully does end up seeing him, and as you can see right here, he does this whole, like, I'm gonna kill you. Which we already know he's capable of. In the first book, he pushed that boy off the edge of a cliff and pretty much left him there for dead. We do know in the second issue that poor David is deceased, that he did end up dying. Right here we have the parents of said David, and it's basically, all the kids were called into the gymnasium. They're having, none of the kids know what it's about. But the parents are coming for us with the police, and they're basically like, hey, David didn't come home last night. We're forming a search party. Has anybody seen him? They kind of have different shots of both, his friend, the boy's father, and then the bully just looking really worried because, of course he's guilty. During the presentation, it gets to the point where they kind of announce that David has been missing, and it catches Stan, to heart, his friend, and he ends up running into the bathroom, and he ends up puking. While he's doing so, the bullies end up going to the bathroom at the same time, and they're like, man, we're F, they're gonna know, and the main bully, and his name is Connor Hardy. I don't know if Hardy or Connor is the first name or last name because it's a teacher that kind of yells it out at him. Basically, he kind of overhears them talking about what they did to David, but not so much in details. Kind of like, hey, we did something. They're gonna catch on to him. Stan heard that it was about David, so you can put the 2 pieces together depending on how smart David is. Anyways, he kind of, his stomach, since he just vomited, makes a noise and it alerts the bullies. They eventually find out that it is Stan, but Stan actually, he's had enough, and he comes out of the stall like with a knock to Connor's face or whatever, and he ends up just bailing past him and taking off, catching the other bullies by surprise. They're like, what the heck? One of them even tells Stan, like, good job, man, he had it in him, kind of thing. Of course, we got the whole Stan taking off and the bullies chasing after him. But in this case, he is literally saved by the bail, but not the bail, but the principal and some cops walk up and they're specifically looking for Connor David. You know, him being a bully and a bad person, that kind of thing. He is their number one prime suspect. Of course, it is a stereotype, and in kids, you should never stereotype, but in this case, they just happen to be right? We're reading the comic. We know that douchebag killed that other kid for no reason. But of course, they want to question Connor, which leads Stan to, you know, make it outside, meet up with his friends. His friends are kind of interested on what went down, but they're more interested in learning what happened to David and stuff, and kind of chilling and stuff like that. We cut over to Connor Hardy, and he's being interviewed by two cops, and the two cops are like really going hard on this guy. We know you're a bully, you know. Well, we heard that you were the last person that was seen with this kid, and on top of that, you were bullying him during it. Of course, like a rock hard criminal that he is stone cold during the whole thing and doesn't give him anything, and he is eventually released. We do jump over to, you know, just a nice scene with the family and stuff like that, and there's some stuff said, but y'all don't need to know that. And it's just a nice conversation and stuff like that. But then we jump over to the bullies, and the bullies, you know, with Connor showing up, his two friends were like, man, you know, what did you tell them? What they know? And that, you know, just like he tells them he didn't tell anything. They don't really know anything. So he comes up with this plan, the best plan ever, right? To return to the scene of the crime the night after he's, you know, being pegged as the number one suspect. But they do go back to that cliff, and sadly, you know, and if you have a weak stomach, but sadly we find what happened to poor little David. They do recover the bike, and they pull it out of the bushes, and they plan to go ditch it somewhere else. But they do show David. At first look, I thought he was still like alive and hurt. Now this boy's got maggots and worms crawling. I mean, he literally died due to, you know, whatever injuries he suffered after falling off the cliff. But they do show that the boys spent all night getting rid of, you know, his stuff and burying him. Eventually, they go to the next day, and it's the bullies chilling at that couch wherever they are in their chill space, their secret bully headquarters. And one of the bullies, specifically the bigger one, or I think, yeah, he's kind of had enough. Connor's gone too far. They didn't know they were going to be killing a kid. They kind of mentioned this in the first one, and it's the same kid that was kind of freaking out. Like, man, we were just going to bully him and stuff. We jump over to this, and it's kind of the same vision we had at the end of the first one of a boy walking up to that alien thing and bursting into flames. For some reason, Stan starts, like, I guess, envisioning this. This is what I'm getting, because this part is really abstract. I don't exactly know what's going on, but I think he's either daydreaming about this or having this vision, but he's doing it while they're like at a practice and stuff, and supposedly for like 30 minutes he's just strummed like these 3 chords at the end. All of a sudden, after the kids mention this, Stan starts having a nosebleed. All of a sudden, after they mention that he has a nosebleed, he looks at his hand, and as you can see, he passes the F out. He blacks out. And the next scene we get is this. We get Stan waking up in this like kind of matrixy looking battery egg, you know, gloop, I don't know. But eventually he does like fall out of it. When he falls out of it, he does see that there are other kids that are, you know, in the same thing, you know, and he recognizes a face. I don't know if this is supposed to be David or if this is supposed to be somebody else. I want to assume he's seeing David or what he thinks to be David. He wakes back up, and you know, as he does so, he's kind of like, "Hey guys, I need to tell you something," you know. And it does take some waking up. They end up having to slap him, but after he does wake up, he basically mentions that, you know, he saw something why he had passed out, and they need to talk about it, and that's basically where this issue ends. And there is no, you know, like cover hint or nothing to go off for the third issue. There's still, we got a little more definition in this issue, but there's still that big abstract, like with this alien thing that they show and what's going on with the, that part of it's still a mystery. But it's not a bad part of the book. It's engaging enough that kept me to the second issue. I do love the art, the color. I think that's a big plus of the book. But I would like a little more definition. What the hell's going on? We got the main story, and that's pretty simple. But what's going on with the cool stuff in the book, the alien stuff? But hey, that is my review on The Firstborns by Sumerian. Let me know if you read this. Let me know your thoughts. You digging it? Maybe this issue kind of turned you off. I don't know. Let me know down below. I love reading that stuff, hearing it. I love responding to it. But that's my review. That's what I got for you. I'll let y'all go. I will see y'all on the flip.